This podcast contains content that may be distressing to some listeners. Be sure to check the description below for content warnings.
Before we dive in, a heads up, my friend. Some topics discussed may make nerves bend. We talk of struggles both sharp and deep and touch on themes that might trouble your sleep. If triggers for trauma leave you in pain, feel free to pause, reflect, or refrain. Your well-being matters. Care comes first. Skip a tough part if it feels like the worst. Now, if you're ready, let's press play, but tread with care along the way.
So we pull up and there's all these cars and we were like, this is gonna be so cool. And we walked inside, like knocked on the door opens, we walk inside and there's like 4 of us. I mean, just with alcohol and ready to party. And we turned the corner and we were at a 3-year-old's birthday party. We went to the wrong home.
Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are Fine, a podcast all the time, everywhere, in your ear holes, as Jordan will attest to later on.
Are you foreshadowing something later on?
Maybe. But in this podcast, we dive into all kinds of relationships, funny topics about being teachers, and all kinds of life things that happen to us that we have to just laugh about.
And if you aren't laughing through the tears, are you living? I think that's an important question to answer. So
I don't know. But anywho, so we had a crazy week this week.
Yes, it was a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
So, why don't you dive in? Because I think it is your
Before we get to that part, we got to meet our podcast family.
Yes, we did.
In person this week, except for one person, because he has an adorable baby at home, so he couldn't be there because his adorable baby needed him. But
how dare that baby be more important than us? No,
his baby is so cute though. But we got to meet our human content family in person, and we also got to go to the Glockenfleckens show.
That was phenomenal.
They are so awesome. We got to meet them in person and go see their show, and we were like sitting in the front row, and Jordan got handed a signed Dr. Glockenflecken Diet Coke. Oh, that was insane. But it was a fantastic show. Had me laughing, had me crying. If they're still touring by the time this airs, please make sure you go and check it out.
I don't know how much is known with the show and everything. So I don't want to spoil anything, but there are some moments in that live show that will bring you to tears.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal. It was amazingly funny. It was amazingly just like heartwarming and heart-wrenching. And I had a blast.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah.
But then we went to Cheesecake Factory afterwards, and our waitress, shout out to you, Brie. Our waitress was top tier. Like she should have her own stand-up comedy set, because she was just, oh my gosh, she was hilarious. Like
she was
made
funny.
Made the whole dinner.
So no, she was great. So yeah, Brie at the Pittsburgh Cheesecake Factory. It was
the best.
Yes, it was the West. Was it West Side?
I don't know.
I can't remember the specific name of it.
One of them.
Not the one at Ross Park, the other Cheesecake Factory. So I forget the name of that one.
But before we left, we went and grabbed the mail, and our podcast producers, Rob, Shanti, and Aaron, they sent us a piece of custom artwork.
I love it so much.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll kind of be able to see it, and we'll put a picture of it on the screen. But if you're not, I'm going to describe this magic to you.
You mean this masterpiece?
Yes. It is a masterpiece. So it is a running inside joke that we are obsessed with cranberries for whatever reason.
Aaron knows the reason.
Yeah, Aaron was the reason. But in our podcast family, we all love cranberries now. So on our set, we have a jug of cranberry juice at all times. So they sent us a can. It's a picture, a digital artwork of a can of cranberry sauce with flowers blooming out of the top of it. It is gorgeous. It is going to be framed, and it is going in my library down here. So thank you to our family at the Human Content podcast family because we definitely feel loved.
I remember when I opened that up and I shrieked in our neighborhood, and Frank, our neighbor, was outside, and he looked over. He's like, "Hi, Jordan."
It's like, you good?
You good?
But anywho, the other exciting part of our week, which is still unbelievable. So last night, Jordan and I had the opportunity to pitch our small business at our local business incubator's Shark Tank event. So if you're not familiar with Shark Tank, first of all, get out from the rock that you've been living
I
under.
was gonna say, how many people? I think that is a very small list of people.
But
Yes.
if you're not, I'm going to explain it. So Shark Tank is a TV show where businesses will go, they'll pitch their company or their idea to some sharks or investors, and then, hopefully make a deal to gain some investors for their business. So our local business incubator does a fundraiser every year where it's basically the same concept. They pick 5 local business owners or major businesses in the area to be the sharks, and then they pick 5 small businesses or startups to pitch to them for some prize money. So Jordan and I, this is kind of new. We haven't really put it out there a whole lot yet because we're still working on everything.
So to get to the short of it, we created the physical prototype because it will be a digital product, but we wanted to just test theories and just experiment, have fun with it. And once we completed that, we had, like you were saying, this opportunity to do the Shark Tank event. For us, mainly, and our purposes for raising funds is to move beyond the physical and do a lot of software engineering and all that stuff because neither of us know how to code.
No,
anything.
but the gist of it is, so our company is called Little Tusk, and it's named that because we are the Woolies. And what do you think of when you hear the word woolly?
Sheep.
No. No, kidding. A woolly mammoth. So we named it Little Tusk. And we're designing a software company to teach financial literacy to children. So we had this opportunity. We spent the last month really prepping for this, creating a pitch deck. And
a lot of sleepless nights.
Yes, working very late and, prepping our presentation. We gave it, and it was a room of almost 800 people. It was a huge event.
And for our area too, it was the biggest of the big in our area was in that room. If you were anyone in business, you were at that event for our area, which was very intimidating.
It was. It was. I've never felt so out of my element in all my life. I'm not a businesswoman.
See,
I'm a teacher, so it felt weird being there.
But I feel like you fit in more because you're the social media influencer, and I'm just
I'm a
nerd
teacher
from Ohio.
I'm
that's
a
just
teacher.
In that room.
Let's just social media aside, I'm a teacher.
Yeah, but you're still a social media influencer. I'm just your nerdy husband who plays D&D.
I'm your nerdy wife who plays D&D, so it's fine. The most unexpected result came from this event.
We had some amazing competition we were up against, but we came home with the gold.
We won the whole event. So, we were not expecting it. They had 3 different rewards. They had 3 different awards. The first was the Shark's Choice. So they deliberated and then they had to pick one of the 5 companies to win $30,000, which we got a giant check for. Hold on, I gotta grab it.
Here, let me take this.
So big. Yeah, this is a
I will
heavy
take this.
trophy.
What I'm holding is a trophy, a metal trophy with a shark jumping out of the water.
I'm gonna cover us up for a second. Look at that. It's a giant check. We got a giant check for $30,000.
Would you like your trophy back?
Nope, you can hold it.
Oh man, it's heavy. Okay.
Then we got the audience award for $10,000. And then one of the local businesses, Boak and Sons, gave another $10,000 prize, and they gave it to us. And I just can't I can't wrap my head around last night because before last night, our business Like, we literally were bootstrapping everything. We were
Yes.
paying for everything out of pocket because we just believe in this mission so much of like helping children learn how to manage their money when they're young so that they can carry those skills into adulthood and have successful financial futures, no matter where they came from, no matter what their background is. We just want to help kids to succeed in any way that we can. So for us, it's always been like a passion project. But last night just felt like so validating that we were on the right path and that people really want this product.
Yeah.
Like, they want us to create this application for kids
No,
to help them.
I think what was like the insane part for me was you'll see these big companies and like either like big local companies or big national companies, and you see them like you're seeing the effects of all the hard work they've done, and you're like, man, how did they get there and everything? And they look like, I don't know, from like a business perspective, like they look like giants and everything. And like it's insane like to be in the room with them, but they all have a starting point, something that happened. And for me, it's just insane that this little idea that you and me had one day on a drive home, and then we just that evening just like put ourselves like we were like, all right, we're not gonna go to bed, but we're gonna go like hang out in our bedroom. We're just gonna focus on creating this platform, creating this idea, putting pen to paper, literally, well, putting pen to iPad.
Yeah.
We literally, I have a note on my iPad.
And it was just like a stream of consciousness of all these different ideas we had for this platform, and just like, you know, dream concepts that we wanted to showcase in this platform. So we're so excited to finally get to be at the point where, you know, we had, and the crazier part after like we did our presentation and before we had even won, we had other investors around our area that were reaching out to us and like coming up to our table and asking to set up meetings and stuff. And I have never experienced anything like that in my life. I've never had like somebody look at, you know, an idea that I came up with for like a I don't know, a product or anything like that and be like, that sounds great. Let's talk about it. And it just, I don't know, it just made me feel so good about the journey that we're on and about the work we're doing. And I just really hope that we make them proud and we can build this and make it amazing for kids.
I think that was the scary part for me for
it's like now the pressure's on.
It was this, I was like, it was this oh crap moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and the aftermath of people, like you said, there were people coming up who were like wanted to work with us and everything. And then there was a lot of people from the community that were like, we love what you're doing. We can't wait to see what you do. And I was just like, oh shoot, I have to deliver.
Yeah. And by the way, so, you know, because who knows who's listening to our show. So like, if there's anyone out there that is interested in potentially working with like a startup company, and you have a background in education or marketing or technology or software engineering or animation, we're looking for all kinds of people to add on to our team, because right now we have a team of 5 people, 6 people.
Yeah.
6 people just like running the show and trying to do all of the work that we need a way bigger team to do. So we're looking for people to join us. So,
and I was going to say too, for other
to join.
Like, because I know, like, with this podcast focusing on teachers, like, there's a lot of like teacher entrepreneurs out there. We can attest, as from our own personal experience. I can attest to this just from my background from university and everything. Check with your local business incubators, or if you're in a smaller area that's more rural, a lot of the times they're regional, so you'll still be able to work with them and everything. They are such a
wealth of knowledge, like an invaluable resource. We would not be anywhere if not for the Youngstown Business Incubator. Seriously.
Specifically Chandler. If you listen to this, thank you so much.
Yeah. And you know, all of our entire team and anyone who's advised us up until this point, because our business has only been around for 1 year.
Yeah.
And it has just been a wild ride. So I'm excited to see where it takes us. I'm excited to see this project come to life. And I can't say thank you enough, and how grateful we are for anyone who has believed in our dream and anyone who has put some support behind us. So again, thank you so much to everyone at the Youngstown Business Incubator, to all of the sharks who put in their time to, be there and, that selected us. And thank you to Boak and Sons for also, selecting us to help fundraise Little Tusk. So we're going to make you guys proud. We're going to put in the work, and I can't wait to share it with all of you guys, the listeners, soon, hopefully. Yeah.
So, no, that was a wild ride.
It was. But enough about us. Today, we have our special guest, Devin Siebold, the teacher comedy guru. We cannot wait to share with you all of the fun projects that he's working on and all of the hilarious stories that he brought for you guys today. So let's get into it. All right. We are so excited to have you on the show today, Devin. How have you been?
I have been well. I've been busy. It's been a very busy year. I just see you on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook pretty much every day. Every day I log in and I'm like, see, they're creating content. Why can't I?
I'm sorry you have to look at my face every day.
Oh,
I apologize.
It's fine. It's usually good. Or I tell you what's funny is I'll pull up TikTok and I'll literally like pull up and it'll just be scrolling through, and all of a sudden your live will come up and I'll find myself sitting there and I'm like, Dumbledore dies? Like what? Like I'm reading along with you and I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Like story time with Lauran's awesome. I like this. This is good.
It is honestly one of my favorite parts of social media. Like, so this is what we're reading now. We just started, this is our fourth book.
Yeah, because you did 2 Harry Potter books.
No. We did the first Harry Potter, and then we did The Summer I Turned Pretty, which was not my favorite, but everyone loved that one. And then we did The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was it. And now we're reading Percy Jackson. So it's so much fun because like people actually come and sit and listen to me read. And obviously you could tell by, if you're watching the video, our backdrop that reading is my passion. Jordan and his dad built me this library in my basement. So like, it's so fun, like sitting there on Saturday mornings and reading a book with people. So
my favorite part is when your brother finds some sort of way, either through air horn or
every
vuvuzela,
time.
to make some sort of distraction.
Every time. So like my brother, Devin, he lives right next door to us. So, like we built houses right next to each other. And he torments me. His wife she follows me on TikTok also, and she'll like see that I'm live on Saturday mornings, and she'll be like, Ryan, go now. And he'll like go get an air horn or, the vuvuzela, and he'll blow the air horn into my basement window because that's where I'm reading the book. So in the middle of like the most emotional part of the book, it's just like, like scaring the absolute hell out of me.
You're like, today was a tough day. I had to block a relative on Facebook, and everybody's like, oh, is it the election? You're like, no, he wouldn't let me read.
No.
I was reading to children. Can I make a recommendation? I don't know if you've done this book
Yes,
yet,
absolutely.
but City of Ember is one of the most underrated books. And the movie, I loved the movie. I was really upset they didn't make a second or a third. But that series, City of Ember, is great. Children love it. I read it to my kids, and they were enthralled. They're like, this is awesome. And I don't know how it got lost in the whole, I think it was because Hunger Games came out and it was so blew up, like at that time, that it just drowned everything else out. But City of Ember I thought was great. I think kids would love it.
I haven't read that, but I have had tons of students that have read it and like just rave about it. So I definitely want to put that on the list. And that's, I think, the best part about book club on TikTok is that I do like young adult or like children's lit. So it's like family friendly and everyone can join. And it helps like my inner child, because when I was young, I did not read for fun. I did like, some books, but I wasn't like I am now. And I kind of feel like I get to go back in time and like reread all the books I missed out on as a kid. So I'm definitely gonna have to add that to my list for sure. Do you have any like favorites that you read when you were a kid? What were your favorite books to read? Or if you were a reader, I don't know.
Yeah, I was a reader for sure. I was Team Goosebumps all the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love Goosebumps.
Goosebumps, and one of my first like novels that I remember being so proud that I read it beginning to end. It was my first like big boy book. Was something called Goblins in the Castle, and I don't remember what much about it, but it was amazing. And I became enthralled with it, and then I started reading other books, and you always have that like gateway, like that first book that like triggers it. And oddly enough, I wasn't into Harry Potter as I was coming up, but everybody else was. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I liked a little bit more like engaging thrillers. Like I was big into the Jurassic Park series, the Michael Crichtons and stuff like that. So reading things like that, but I loved Harry Potter watching it. It's just reading it. I was like, there's so many things I can't pronounce in this. and
That's how I felt about the series of unfortunate events. Like Lemony Snicket purposely uses so many very ingenious and colorful vocabulary words. And I love that he does that though, because he makes a point to give context clues or just straight up give the definition. He'll be like, superfluous, a word which here means blah, blah, blah. And, I like as a kid, I didn't really understand or appreciate the value in that. But now I'm like, I brag about that to my students and I'm like, here, read this book. You need to gain more vocabulary. But yeah, definitely the Goosebumps book. Those were awesome.
I had a lot of really odd. So I'm big into poetry, and like if you've ever, I wrote a kids book. I wrote a kids book, and the kids book.
I know.
Yeah, it's all poems, and I wrote a second kids book too, which I'll talk about later. But
Yes.
it's really just poetry. I've always been a big fan of poetry, and I had teachers that just championed poetry for some reason, and would just and they would go deep into things. Like I remember I had a ninth grade teacher that did a whole lesson on Tracy Chapman's Fast Car before there was any
Okay.
and it was like, let's dissect the lyrics and let's talk about this
Yeah.
lyrically as a song. And I've always thought that teachers, if you don't use song lyrics in your English lessons, like you're so missing out, because there's so much deep, especially like 90s grunge. Like
Yes.
I taught intensive reading when I first started, and I was like, I'm having a trouble connecting to them. And so I literally played the music video for Metallica 1. But before we did that, I had them read the lyrics and try to guess what it was about. And it's an amazing story. The actual song is, but there were so many contexts because they don't tell you exactly what it's about, and they had so much fun dissecting it. And that's one of the few things, like literally, like 20 years on, that the students will stop me and be like, I became like a massive Metallica fan because of your class. And like now I think of lyrics differently. Like I actually like read them and don't just recite them, because there's like deepness there. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of my English teachers my only English teacher in 10th grade, we had to do a poetry portfolio. And it was this long project that was it was a whole binder we had to create, where we had to, in the first half of the binder, analyze different poems and like have different aspects of poetry, highlighted and showcase that we understood what they were. But then in the second half of the binder, we actually had to write our own poetry. And that was like one of my favorite projects of all time when I was in school. And I'm big into poetry, and like I've realized over time that like when I'm going through a hard time in my life, or when something, really difficult's happening, I go straight into writing poetry. Like always. It's just like I have a black journal. Every time I fill it up, I get another black journal, and it's just like it's just my outlet to get rid of all the feelings and to like put them down on paper and release them into the atmosphere. But like poetry seriously does have a soft spot in my heart. So I love that you wrote a children's book of poetry. What's it about, if people haven't read it yet? Because I love it. It's awesome. But tell our listeners.
It's called A Teacher in the Wild, and it's about seeing your teacher in public. And it's the crazy like ideas that come through your head when you're like, why would they ever leave the classroom? Like, this doesn't make sense. That couldn't possibly be them. There's got to be somebody else, has to be an imposter. And so, I wrote it, and it got a great, reviews. A lot of teachers use it as like kind of a gateway to introduce them as real people. There a lot of teachers love it, especially like end of year. They're like, so just so you know, during the summer, I'm going to go do real things. You may see me. You may see me at the movies. You may see me at the beach. You may see me somewhere because I'm a real person. And they use it as kind of a segue. And then my second book that I'm working on right now, it's being illustrated in the moment, is called Teacher's Last Nerve. And it's all about a child who has heard rumblings of Teacher's Last Nerve, but nobody's ever seen it. They just know they're close.
I love that.
They know it's there. They were made aware of it. So they go on this hunt to try to find out if they can uncover Teacher's Last Nerve. And it's really,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's hopefully good, but I really enjoy it. I love this one that I wrote, and I'm like, this is going to be another really good one that I just enjoy reading it to the kids,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it is. You're just so creative, and you think of concepts to write children's books about that I feel like it's like everyone can relate to, but no one thought of it yet. And that's just so awesome. And I'm so happy for you that all of those are going so well. And I hope you continue to write more and more so I can add them to my collection.
Yeah,
I love that.
You should do one.
We've been really busy over the past few months. A lot of stuff going on, but it's definitely been in the back of my mind to, I've always wanted to write children's literature.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe someday that'll cross over into an actual action of mine. But it takes a lot. I mean, to write and publish your own books it's a lot.
Yeah, people are, they read it and it takes you, 10 minutes to read, and they're like,
right.
And for some reason people think, oh, that took 10 minutes to write as well. And they're, they don't see the 50 other, like, I'm scrapping this, let's not do this style, there's no way that page will work. Yes. This illustration, this transition won't happen, and the constant reworking. I mean, the current, like, iteration of it right now has probably existed for about 6 months, and I touch it up literally like every week. Like, I'll be on tour and I'll be like, okay, I have an hour, let me reread it. I forgot how to read it, let me reread it right now. And I will read it and I'll be like, that doesn't work, we're crossing this out. We got to try this, we got to, and so it's just line by line building it. But it's hard, but it is
really
rewarding.
is.
No. Yeah, I think
go ahead.
I was gonna say, you touched on something there with like any creative outlet like that, like your children's book. I mean, I've seen you stand up, a phenomenal job with like your stand up and everything. And anytime like you do something creative like that, I think it's always a little frustrating with, like you said, some people think like, oh, it took 10 minutes to read, 10 minutes to digest, so it took that short to make. And that, like, that's that's attributed to like your talents and everything, because like you do it so well, it seems like it's so easy to pull off. And like, you hide the fact of how much effort and time that goes into that creative process. So it's crazy. And it's just, when you're working on creative fields and like that, I don't think people really take the time to appreciate how much people are pouring in to those outlets and to those projects. And a lot of them are for like passion projects where they are spending countless hours on working on anything from music to books to stand-up routines and everything. So
absolutely. So talking about your stand-up, because that's what everyone knows you for. You're the funny man. So I have a question for you. If you could pick 3 people to do stand-up with, living, alive, or dead, who would you choose and why?
Okay. I'm a big fan of Gaffigan. I love Gaffigan. I love his mentality. I'd like to sit with him for sure. And then Rodney Dangerfield was my original. Like, he was the OG. No Respect was the very first album I ever.
Oh my gosh.
I just listened to that nonstop, and I thought that was great. And then last one would probably be Dave Attell, which is kind of a wild one, but he's a comics comic. He's like great. And he was, I remember, and the reason I say Dave Attell is because I loved listening to Rodney, but I memorized Dave Attell's album. Which I can't say the name of it on this podcast, but it's a great album. I memorized the album, and that was my first taste of stand-up, because I took the memorization of it, went to school, and I was like, guys, let me tell you a joke. And I like would recite like his stand-up, and they would laugh. And I was like, man, how cool would it be to have my own? like my own something that other people would recite. And then it came around full circle years later when I was doing a radio show with Grady Judd, who's the famous sheriff from Polk County. You've seen him on TV. He's all over the news. He's and in national news, by the way. And I was on the radio with him, and I go, yeah, I'm a teacher comedian. He goes, really? He goes, man, oh man. He goes, I love comedy. He goes, I saw a teacher comedian a while back. He had one of my favorite ever jokes about this student named Pepsi. And I go, that's my joke. And he goes, it was you. And it was like, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, this guy took my joke from, that performance, and he remembered it years later. And here he is telling it to me. And I'm like, that was the goal. The whole goal was to have humor that was, spread throughout, and to spread the laughter.
To be memorable like that.
Yep. And I thought it was kind of cool.
You're doing an awesome job of it, man. I mean, seriously, like that. I think what a gift to want to be able to just make people laugh, like to make people happy and make people laugh for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Like what a job.
Yeah. No.
Right. Like, okay, some of my favorites, and obviously, like I am not a stand-up comedian. My favorite though are the ones that like tell stories, and I think a few of my favorites are Mike Birbiglia. He's one of my top favorites, and I actually have a funny story about that. So a few years back, I think we were headed home from a concert or something.
Yeah, we were coming home from Columbus, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like 11 o'clock at night, and we're driving on the highway, and all of a sudden I get a DM on TikTok, and I open it up, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's Mike Birbiglia just DM'd me. And I'm like freaking out because this is like, before I was big on TikTok at all. Like I was just like making content for funsies, and Mike Birbiglia messages me. So I'm like, okay, what do I say back to him? Like, hi. And like, so I'm trying to start this conversation with Mike Birbiglia, and he's actually answering me back. And he's just like, I don't even know. The only thing I can attribute to this is that it was late, and he may or may not have been intoxicated and accidentally DM'd me. But I had like a short, brief conversation where Mike Birbiglia and I were friends for like 15 minutes. And it is the highlight of my life. So I thought I was so cool for having a comedian that messaged me back and was like conversing with me. I'm like, what is happening?
So I have the exact opposite story with Mike.
Oh no!
I was listening to Mike's podcast where he has called Working It Out, and I think it's called Working It Out, and he's literally like writing jokes as he's going. And I listened, and I was like, dude, that's a great bit. And in my mind, I was like, it would be a great bit if he like took it this way. And I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, hey, I love that bit you did. Have you thought about taking it this way? And he just responded with like a thumbs up, and I was like, "Well, I'm quitting comedy forever." I was like, I'm done.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh!
I was like, never mind. That was a ridiculous idea. Why would I suggest that? Sorry.
Oh,
that's kind of funny.
A few years down the road, when he actually uses your bit, and then you get to like, I inspired him,
and you'd be like, "Hey,
right.
I said to do that." And then John Mulaney. I love John Mulaney, and he's somebody that I recite jokes from constantly. Like we live in memes.
Yeah.
And we just will take random lines of his sets and just say them around the house. But what about you? Who are your favorites, Jordan?
I know one's old school that I'll go with. Growing up, I don't know why he had such a lasting impact. I think it was just because of like the deadpan delivery, the segues were there but not really there. Was Mitch Hedberg. His like one-liners and just they were just gold, especially when I was a kid. Like just some of like his puns and everything were just like, it was just next tier, and I love him. I wish he would have been around a lot longer than he was. I think he would have definitely like cemented himself. Like he's already kind of a Hall of Fame comedian, but like even more so. He had so much influence on so many, even some of like the comedians like we're all talking about have he's had a big influence on. And then I'm also a big Tom Segura fan, so I do love Tom Segura.
I opened
I
for
like him
Tom
too.
before Tom was Tom.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've got old
Oh,
pictures
who's
of me and
the-
him, and he was great, very nice guy when I was working
Yeah.
with him. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I kind of got ahead of myself, but I'm just so curious. How did you get from being a teacher in a classroom to stand-up comedy? Like, what was that route like? What did the road look like?
I owe it all to the student. I mean, just dead serious. It's I went to a school. I taught at a school where we had so many problems early on, and it was like bomb threats or people calling out, and it was a lot of issues within the school. And there was like a whole week one time where they moved like 6 classes into the auditorium. And
Mhm.
they were like, Siebold, just keep an eye on him. And I quickly learned just keeping an eye on him was not going to work, because I was keeping an eye on him committing like several felonies, and I'm like, all right, we gotta keep you entertained. I gotta do something.
Yes.
And so
You're like, now's my chance.
I'd never considered comedy. I was a writer. I wrote comedy a
Mhm.
lot. I actually, ironically, a lot of articles that you probably read growing up through like college on College Humor,
Mhm.
College
Mhm.
Humor, E-Bombs World. Those were like big
Yeah.
millennial sites. I wrote those.
Yeah.
I wrote.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
wow.
I was a ghostwriter for a lot of.
Did we not just watch a
I was about
College
to
Humor
say,
video
we
this
just
morning?
watched a College Humor video this morning. We watched the Oreo CEO bit.
Yeah, I didn't do that one, but I
Oh, I was gonna say.
I wrote a.
College Humor. We grew up on College Humor.
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
So I wrote a ton of stuff, and I was sitting in there with them, and we were just hanging out, and I'm like, it's getting chaotic, and I was like, guys, how many of you want to hear a story of me in college? I got a funny story. And I told them this story, and it's a true story, but I'll just keep it brief.
Yeah.
But me and my buddies, our first like college party, we were like, we're going to a college party. This is awesome. And we're like, we have to bring booze. We have to bring alcohol. We have to come like as proper guests. And we managed to get somebody to buy stuff for us. And we were like, okay, we're going to the college party. This is awesome. You got the address? Yeah. And so we pull up, and there's all these cars, and we were like, this is gonna be so cool. And we walked inside, like knocked on the door opens, we walk inside, and there's like 4 of us. I mean, just with alcohol and ready to party. And we turned the corner, and we were at a 3-year-old's birthday party. We went to the wrong home.
Oh no.
We went to so we're just standing there, and we're like, happy birthday. And they're like, what side of the family are you on? We're like, distant relatives. And we stayed for a little bit, and then we were like, okay, well, that was a disaster. But I told that to the students, and they laughed so hard. But I had their attention the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like 2 days later, it happened again. And they were like, everybody in the auditorium, Siebold, keep an eye on him. And they were like, story. And I just started telling stories from college. And one student on the way
God.
out goes, hey, man, he goes, you're really funny. Have you ever thought about stand-up? And I was like, no, not really. And he's like, I don't know, give it a shot. And I was like, all right. So I signed up for the local stand-up class, and the rest is history. I made a career out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think the most important question is, did you get some birthday cake?
Yes, we did. We did get birthday cake.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that you showed up at the wrong house, but stuck around.
Yes.
Like stayed for the 3-year-old's birthday.
Yep. It was awesome. It was, well, that 3-year-old, they're gonna remember that one. I bet the next year they were like, where are my uncles at? Like they were.
Yeah, where are my 3 stranger
Yeah.
uncles that
I'm really
just showed
hoping
up?
they took some family photos and you guys are in there too.
They were
it's just
taking photos and stuff.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh, yes.
Yeah.
And they're probably like, whatever happened to those guys? Like,
Yep.
that's hilarious. Well, on that note, we will be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and then I got one more question for you before we move on to our super fun game. Okay, so one last question before we start on our game, because obviously our podcast is focused mainly on diving into those important relationships, whether that was a teacher that you had that made an impact on your life or maybe a student. But like, what is one of your favorite memories from your time in the classroom, or a time when you feel like you truly made an impact on somebody's life?
So I've got kind of a different angle on this. So I enjoyed the teaching and the impact I made on the kids for sure. But it all goes back to the impact that another teacher made on me, that I was able to
Yeah.
make that further that impact. I had a professor when I was in college that he saw I was like senior year, and I was like motivation level was just dropping. Like I was straight
Yeah.
A's, but that last little, and I was like, I said, dude, I don't even know if I want to be a teacher. I said, I don't know if it's going to be fulfilling. Should I maybe look into medical school or something like that? And he goes, you know what? He said, here's $50. He said, go spend it on somebody else. And it was during Thanksgiving. He said, spend it on somebody else and then come back and talk to me. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. He goes, I saw it on Oprah. It'll work. I was like, okay, I believe in Oprah.
Well, if Oprah did it,
If
I
Oprah-
mean,
Yeah. And so with the wild thing is I took the $50 and I got my buddy who had a car at college. I didn't have a car. And we went and we bought some Thanksgiving groceries, and we took it to an underserved neighborhood and we gave out some of the groceries to local families for Thanksgiving. We were like, here, some groceries to help you out with Thanksgiving. The look on their faces, the appreciation for just bringing out just a little bit of groceries to their house, just flabbergasted. Like, oh my gosh, kindness exists in the world. People that hadn't seen that
Mhm.
kindness in probably a long while, and
Yeah.
I just felt this energy, and I went back and I was like, I get it. Like, there's more in this world than just me, and
Mhm.
there's a way to give back. There's a way to pass on love and knowledge and pass on passion. And I
Yes.
do want to teach. Now I get it, because I really enjoyed that feeling of gifting something to somebody. And if I can gift, knowledge or a career or some success to somebody and help somebody else out. And I really enjoyed like those moments in the classroom where you see the kids go on to do amazing things. You teach the student and they message you later, hey, I just got hired at the State Department. I just wanted to let you know you're my favorite teacher. You inspired me in the politics area. Oh, hey, I just, I'm a stockbroker now. And I remember your lesson in economics and it inspired me. And you see those things and it's amazing. And then I started really passionately into charity. I started working with St. Jude about 15 years ago. And so
Mhm.
I'm an ambassador for St. Jude. I went to their creator summit last year again, and then I'm representing them in a 5K and Disney 5K. And then I started working with the
Amazing.
Coalition for the Homeless Orlando, produced a documentary for them, did
Oh, wow.
5 years running. I've raised money for the Treasure Coast Food Bank over $20,000 almost every year. And then I
Phenomenal.
started my own charity last year called Teacher's Pet, and we help out teachers with the cost of adoption, vaccination, and any veterinary bills. And we just sponsored 10 adoptions in South Bend, Indiana.
Oh my gosh.
If you're a teacher, you can go to your local pet adoption clinic in South Bend, Indiana, and I'll give you the details later. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, and the adoption's free. We take care of that.
Wow.
That's
And,
amazing.
and we're helping other teachers too. There was, a teacher that couldn't afford cost of the allergy shots for their dog. So we bought a year's worth of
Mhm.
allergy shots so she doesn't have to worry about that. Because I had a dog, and I can tell you guys have dogs. And
Yes.
I have a dog now, but my old dog was Landon. And Landon was the sweetest dog in the world. But at the time I was teaching in Florida, one of the lowest paid districts in the lowest paying state. And
Yeah.
something would happen to him. And the first thought in my mind was not, okay, let's heal him. It was, how can I afford this? Like, how does this, and I just
Isn't
hate,
that such like a heartbreaking thought too? Like you have to decide between, saving your family loved pet and, putting food on the table. Like that's such a horrible choice to have to make.
yeah, exactly. And that's what we will hope to get rid of that burden and help out the teachers. And it's doing amazing things. But again, all that stuff, the fundraising, the St. Jude, the helping the kids, the teacher's pet, I just go right back to that magical $50 that
Yes.
that Dr. Williams at Flagler College, he gave that $50 to me, and he had no idea what he was doing. I say that he didn't know like the future it would be. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was trying to give
he
me.
didn't know what an impact it was going to make
Right.
on your life entirely.
I was operating up to that point with internal motivation. And he was like, there's something outside of you that you're not aware of. And so the second I became more aware of the communities that I would serve, I worked in Title I schools the whole time, 13 years.
Mhm.
And everybody's like, why don't you go to the better schools, the better paying schools? I enjoyed where I worked because I felt like I had a higher purpose and could make
Yes.
more of an impact and stick with those kids. And again, all goes back to Mr. Williams, so Dr. Williams. So so looking back, that's his impact that was passed on to me, that was hopefully passed on to, the next generation. And that's what you try to do.
That
yeah.
is like the best story, the best answer I feel like we could have ever expected from that
Yeah.
question. So kudos to you, Dr.
Yeah.
Williams. All right. I think that's a great place to head into our game.
Yeah.
So we are going to play a game that is called Classroom Chaos. So I'm going to give everybody a scenario, like their own little tricky, like ridiculous classroom scenario. And you have to come up with some kind of creative solution on the spot. Just whatever comes to mind. How would you deal with this scenario? So,
Oh boy.
okay, so Jordan, here is your scenario.
Okay.
The fire alarm goes off,
Yes.
but instead of the usual drill, the school has decided to mix things up with a surprise zombie apocalypse simulation. Half of the students have zombie makeup on and are chasing the others. How do you maintain control and keep your survivors calm?
Oh my gosh. First off,
Good luck.
we're pulling fire alarms when zombies have arrived. Isn't that going to drive them to the problem? Like, that's just adding to the problem. So number one, we're killing the fire alarm. I think that's a good place to start.
Okay.
So I'm assuming this is a drill, correct? Or is-
Yes, it's a
okay,
drill.
this
It's
is a drill.
It's a simulation.
It's a
Yes,
simulation.
yes.
All right.
See, this is a
Well-
testament to teachers, by the way, because
Yes.
you would have already died in the zombie apocalypse. We have to think a lot quicker than that. A lot quicker.
I know.
Right.
I'm
You
sitting
can't
here,
you
it's
can't
like,
be like,
hold on,
hold on, kids. I gotta
I gotta
sort
think
this out.
through.
Yeah.
Hold on. See, yeah, that's the problem with like in my career is creative direction. So I have to think about like 50 different ways something can go. So I'm sitting here, it's like, well, if I do this, and then this happens. But if I don't do that, then that happens. So I'm dead. So my soul reincarnates. Now I'm one of the kids. So I'm gonna have I'm gonna lead the group of kids.
Is the fire alarm still cut off?
Yeah, we cut off that fire alarm.
Okay, so that was your quick choice.
That's
You
my
cut
quick
the fire
choice,
alarm, and now
yes.
you reincarnated as a student.
because I'm dead.
Okay,
So I'm dead.
you
Now I'm a
died.
student.
Now you're a student.
Okay, so then I'm gonna be like, oh, I messed up. So let's all go to a classroom and lock ourselves in.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But see, now I'm concerned because what if one of them's bitten? And it's always in a horror movie. Somebody gets bitten
And they hide it.
and they hide it.
So what's going to happen then?
Oh, we're all dead.
So
Because I don't feel comfortable being
everyone
like,
dies.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't feel comfortable being like, oh, did you get bit? No. 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 Everyone said they didn't get bit. Little Timmy got bit. Now he's a zombie. Now we're all dead because we're locked in the room with little Timmy.
Well,
It's just World War ABC.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, Devin.
Mhm.
All right. Your scenario is you accidentally get yourself stuck in the window while trying to close it. And now you're halfway in and halfway out of the classroom. The students are laughing and no one is offering help. What's your game plan to get out physically and with your dignity intact?
I don't. Okay. So what I do is I say, listen, students, what I need you to do is I need you to pick up my phone, open up TikTok and hit record because this is this is going
content gold.
this is going viral instantly. And either way I fall, I'm thinking a million views. I'm thinking at least. And I think that you just lean into it. You got to laugh with them. To be honest with you, there is no dignity half the time in teaching. It's just like, Whatever.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
No, the dignity is gone from day one.
Exactly. Yeah. I split my pants one time and I went home and changed them. I was like, I have just enough time to go home, changed them. And then I came back to school. The next day, I forgot split my pants and I put on those pants again. And I literally went to school in the split pants and like halfway through second period, by the way, first period, let me just
oh my gosh.
do it. The kids are like, your pants are like really split. And I'm like, wow, thanks for letting me know first period. You all have Fs. And it was, it's one of those, at some point you just got to laugh it off, So, laugh it off.
Oh my God. That is a nightmare situation. I can't imagine if I ever split my pants at school and then had to okay. Other question. How close to your school did you live that you could just leave and go change your pants and come back before school started?
About 10 minutes away. But you know what? I was luckily there early that day for some reason. I don't know. Contract hours.
Lucky duck.
Yeah. If I had been on contract hours, it would have been a miserable, bad idea.
Yeah, no, if I ever had to leave my school building, I never worked at a school that I lived close enough that I could just go somewhere and come back. It's like I need an hour to get there and back. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. My scenario is a student insists their parent is an alien and has arranged for a parent-teacher conference to prove it. When the parent arrives dressed like they just came off a spaceship, the entire class is convinced. How do you navigate this bizarre conversation? Okay, first things first. Why am I holding a parent-teacher conference midday in front of my entire class? That's my first question. But am I trying to figure out if they're aliens or not? Like they want me to prove it?
What you do is you sit there and you go, I'm thinking of all the bad things your children have done. And if you can see inside my brain, then we can just make this happen. And it's a lot easier.
Oh my gosh. So I guess this conversation, I first I'd be like, I think this is a great opportunity to bring in our school counselor because they would know the best resources to give you.
And they speak Klingon.
And they just might.
Yeah.
And then I guess I would just kind of go with it because I'm not going to tell them they're not an alien. You be you. If you feel like you're an alien, you be an alien.
I see a theme here of just going with the flow.
That is literally 100% of teaching. Just go with the flow. I mean, you can have a game plan. It's probably not going to work or go exactly how you plan at all. So
exactly.
Absolutely not. Well, anyway, that was fun. I like that.
Yeah.
I like Jordan's zombie apocalypse and he's just dying. So, he just gave up.
So actually, I'm working on a new comedy bit. And Jordan, you just proved that I need to really work on this comedy bit because I think
Oh, no.
No. That I think it's going to be something. See, Lauran, did you go to school to become a teacher?
I did.
See, so did I. And I think there's like something where people like me and Lauran say, we say, hey, they keep doing this temporary certificate thing for these other teachers and letting people, and we went to school for it. And I think generally teachers have this idea that it shouldn't be that, we're kind of gatekeeping our profession. But I don't know. Mm-hmm. I kind of want somebody with no experience to go into a zombie apocalypse because of the entertainment factor alone. I think, it's like, you have no experience. Okay, go ahead, go try it, go for it, and then we can, it's much better to watch from the outside and just go, did you hear what happened over in the zombie apocalypse room the other day? Yeah.
Is there a show like that? I know there's wife swap. Is there job swap?
I think that would be the funniest thing to see you and me switch jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like you could absolutely, especially with your skill sets from teaching and stuff, you could absolutely do my job. There is no way in hell.
I could not.
There's no way in hell I'm doing your job. I could not make it. I feel like an hour.
In your job, so Jordan's a creative director, so he has to know how to use all the Adobe products and everything, like the actual professional ones. I could use Adobe Express and that's about it. And he has to make things from scratch. So I would be up there with was it Paint, just like
Yep.
Microsoft, right? Was that Microsoft?
Microsoft Paint?
Yeah, I would be on Microsoft Paint, just like, okay, you need a flyer. I'm gonna write it in Paint for you. Like, does this work? Like, I could not and would not. It would come out horrible. Everything will look terrible. But I know we've had this discussion multiple times, Jordan, but I know, like, you told, because I keep saying, I'm like, oh, well, someday when we have a kid, would you teach them guitar? Because Jordan plays guitar. And he's like, nope. And I'm like, why not? You're so good at it. You could easily teach them how to play. He's like, I can't teach. I don't have the patience for that. I could not teach. I'm not a teacher. And he just like is adamant on that. So I can just imagine you walking into my classroom and losing your patience in 5 minutes.
I think it'd take about, according to you in your one video, it would take 5 minutes after being asked Mr. Woolley 20 times, and then there not really being a question at the end of Mr. Woolley.
Yeah, no, I did that that trend on TikTok where you get a clicker and you count how many times. Like they call your name, or I think we did how many times they called our names, got out of their seat without asking, or like interrupted class for like something completely unrelated. And by the end of the day, I think we were up to like 150 or 200 times.
Yeah, you're up to 200 times. Yeah.
It was a lot. But I was pretty proud of myself because I didn't realize just how patient I actually am.
Very. It takes patience of a saint to be a teacher for sure. Jordan, I've got an idea. How about I give you $50 to spend on somebody else? And then let's see if you can find a higher purpose. And
I will say he does have that higher purpose because Jordan, he has a funny background with his like college career because he went to school for 3 years for nursing because originally he went pre-med. He wanted to be a doctor. And then switched to nursing, did that for 3 years. And then after his like one round of clinical rotations, he was like, peace out, I'm done, no thanks. But now he works for a nonprofit healthcare organization and kind of mixed the two together. So like, I know you've talked about that before. You're like, I always want to be in medicine in some fashion because I like being able to help people and I like being able to get people the information they need to get healthcare. So you kind of still ended up there in a roundabout way.
When I first left high school and everything, plan was to become a doctor. I did not. I'm not one. I love working. I did not want to be working like doctor hours of 80 to 100 hours a week, especially because what I wanted to go into was anesthesia. So I was just like, no, I'm good, man. I like my free time. I like coming home and being able to just like shut off for the hour I have. So they don't even get that hour I get to shut off for. So, but yeah, then I went into nursing because it was slightly less hours. Let me just tell you, it takes about one clinical rotation in a nursing home to realize, oh my gosh, this is too sad for me. That was really rough. Yeah. I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to be in a very good nursing home. It was just very sad from the aspect of we had some amazing patients that were in there, people who had just hearts of gold, were the nicest people. And then nobody there to see them either because their families were all out of state and it was really heartbreaking.
Yeah. That would be awful.
Yeah.
I couldn't and then especially see that every day either.
Yeah. And then, like I said, too, is I was also in a Alzheimer's unit. So that was another thing that was really sad to you almost had to introduce yourself and build a connection every day with somebody. Mm-hmm. And it was just really, for me, it was really hard. And I was just like, I don't know if I can go into nursing. And it just left, I don't want to say a bad taste in my mouth. It just left a taste in my mouth of like, I don't know with everything that comes with medicine, if I would be able to do this. Cause you go into just like
it's emotionally taxing. It really is.
It's the only other career I know of that, besides teaching, nursing is one that I shout them out a lot because that's another field where you do a lot of the dirty work in medicine. You do a lot of doctors are very busy. So a lot of the times, like they have to come in, they break the news and they have 50 other patients they have to go to. So their time is very precious and they have to keep moving. And nurses, a lot of the times will end up having to take on that role of almost like caregiver too at the same time. And it's they
wear many hats.
They do. Yeah.
And, so Seriously, shout out to every medical worker out
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
You guys are doing the Lord's work.
Oh,
and
yeah. Especially post-COVID. They are, I can tell, I work with doctors and everything. They are burnt out beyond belief too.
I can't even imagine, but couldn't be me. I could never do what you do. So thank you for everything you do for everyone to take care of all of us when we're sick and not feeling good. So that's awesome.
On a side note, I don't know if you all know this, but I take my children to trick or treat in the local nursing home, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of nursing homes open their doors for trick or treaters.
Yes.
And
Yes, they do.
It's an amazing, like I'm telling you, the residents there, that's their like Christmas. That's their light up.
It's like favorite day of the year.
Yeah, all the young kids come through and they light up, and it's just a really cool interaction. And the local nursing home by my home does a great event. And so I don't know if you have a nursing home nearby, ask if they do that. If not, maybe see if they're interested in starting up something like that, because it benefits everybody, and but they get to go around. The kids get to trick or treat, and all the residents get to see the young kids come through and all their get ups and outfits, and it's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know this is airing into the winter season, but that's still like just last night, my brother took my nephew Frankie. He's well, at this point, he's only almost 8 months old. And he went as Franklin the Turtle from Nick Jr.
Yeah.
And he took him because my grandpa is in a nursing home right now. And he took him to the nursing home, and they just did that. And they buy all the candy for the residents, and they have them all lined up in the hallways. And it is just seeing the joy on their faces. I wasn't there, but the photos were they were melting my heart. They loved it. So absolutely, if you guys have the chance, I mean, who says we can't do it for other holidays like Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Do a little Valentine's Day walkthrough
and
pass out some candy.
And every single time, there's always one resident there who passes out candy with reckless abandon. They're like, there's just that one. He's like, just take this, and just throws it into the bag. He's like, I need more candy down here, and he's just throwing it all in, and it's the best.
We love it. My grandpa's a talker, and every child that came up to him to get candy, he would sit there and try to have a 10-minute conversation with them, and they'd have to be like, okay, Grandpa, you gotta let him go because he's got to go to the next person. And he's like, I'm just talking. But it's seriously such a cool event. So, I mean, anytime that we can get kids or pets into nursing homes to, engage with patients there is gonna make their day.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much, Devin. I know you're on the road right now, so you're in a hotel room, but thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with us. It's been so fun. Before you go, any other projects or anything else you want to share with anyone?
No, I do speaking in schools. So if you want some laughter, it's all laugh filled. It's exactly what everybody would want in schools. So I took everything that I've ever seen a speaker do in school, and I said, I don't want to do that. And and so it's teachersneedlaughter.com, and it's got all the schools I speak at and a little bit of what I do. And then obviously the second book will be out soon, hopefully, by the time this airs. And so check that out.
Awesome.
Thanks again for having me. It's been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Everyone who wants to follow Devin, you can find him, by his words, pretty much everywhere at Devin Siebold, except TikTok is Devin Comedy. So thanks again for coming on our show, and we will be right back. All right. I can't say enough amazing things about Devin. Seriously.
He's super nice.
He's just he does so much for people on that isn't well known. I'm glad he shared all of the different charity works that he does, because that's fantastic.
No, I really that teacher's pet one is
it's amazing.
That stuck out to me so much, just because I think a lot of people I know I've done that in my own work too, when just talking about one of the things a lot of people forget about when we're donating, and that is pets. And everybody they're a part of our family, and our dogs are
our children.
Oh gosh.
Our dogs
I think
are spoiled.
That's something so heartwarming to see, helping people so they don't have to put their pets up for adoptions and they can keep them in their loving homes and everything. Because that's one of the things I know a lot of people worry about when they have to put up their like pets for adoptions. Is like, well, I know they're in a loving home now.
Yeah.
And I love this animal like a member of my family, and then having to be like, I have to give them up. I don't know if this home's going to be a safe home for them, just to help avoid that at like all cost and helping
Just
remove
not
that.
having to make that choice
Yes.
between taking care of your animal or taking care of your family. Like, I love that. That's awesome.
yeah.
Because we're huge animal lovers
We're
in
huge-
this household.
I was about to say we're huge dog people.
We are dog people. I know. Jordan always like yells at me because we can't get a cat because I'm allergic. And I know, like, I'm allergic to dogs and I'm allergic to cats. But
Yeah, but I was gonna say I
can handle being in a room with dogs. It's just
the
cat
cats
dander.
do try to murder you through a biological mechanism. So
I don't get what it is. Literally, my friend
they commit
had 3
biowarfare.
cats. Yes, my friend had 3 cats, and we would go over her house, and I would purposely not wear any makeup on my face because I knew I was going to be clawing my eyes out within 15 minutes of being
it's
there.
funny. You get in there, you're all like, "Hi, all right, we're ready to go," and then you're like, "All right, we're leaving now," because your face is so puffy.
It was swollen,
and it's swollen,
and I would have
you're
a
just
stuffy nose.
I was about to say you're just snotting everywhere. You're starting to wheeze because like I can hear it. It's just like, all right, it's time to leave.
I know. And someone was like, well, get a hairless cat. And I was like, I'm not Dr. Evil. Like,
See, my problem is the cat breed I want is a Maine Coon, and
Oh,
it's
it's
those big
huge.
fluffy cats.
yeah, the fluffiest, biggest cat you could find.
They're so pretty though.
They are pretty. It's not that I don't like cats. I think cats are cute. I think they're, is fun the right word? I don't think so. I think they're funny. I think
fun's
cats are
the right
funny.
word. You know what? I think cat people are going to come at you now. I think they'd
I'm
be
sorry, cat people. I do like cats. I like cats. Okay, I like cats. I can survive around dogs. So we are a dog household.
like, you don't have to take Benadryl not go to the hospital.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Anywho, it is time for our special bond of the week. So thank you, first of all, to Leslie,
Thanks,
who
Leslie.
sent us a special bond. They said, my story is that in kindergarten, I had this amazing teacher that would always greet me every morning by the door or say a compliment to me or about me. She was a teacher that always smiled through my years of kindergarten. And even now, she still teaches classes with a positive energy every day.
Oh,
I know. Listen, kindergarten teachers, you're the real ones because you have to be on it every single day in order to keep that class in check and in order to to do anything because kindergarten is a rough time. I'm not playing around. They might have like 24 kids. Imagine a room with 24 5-year-olds.
as I said earlier, I would not survive 5 minutes. There's one kid, we're good. I can do this. 2 kids, oh boy. 3 kids, I'm giving up and I'm melting away. Anything past that, I am like, oh my gosh, I need to call a professional.
But like, seriously, kindergarten teachers, you have to have a special kind of heart and a special kind of energy to be
That's
a
what I was gonna
kindergarten
say.
teacher.
I think it's the energy level too.
It really
because,
is.
I think like I could if there was any like career in teaching for me, not that I would be good at it because like I said, not my career path. I am not built for it. College professor I could do because most of them from my time when I was in college, most of us were not paying attention on our laptops. So I feel like I could teach college professor because mostly you're just teaching the wall at that point.
You could teach to a room of people who aren't listening to you.
Yes. Hey, you know what? When I was in college, everybody was recording on voice memo. We were just there for the attendance point, and then we would learn later. And you know what? I would be happy with that. At least you're learning.
Wait, you did what?
Yeah, I would record the classes.
What? Okay, hold on. Couple questions about this one.
Because I could, like, the 2 to 2.5 times.
Okay.
Yeah, on the classes later. And I would
but
take...
but you're already there. Like sitting,
Yeah.
you're already sitting
Okay.
through that time frame. Why not just listen?
Because I would listen to it when I was at work at the gas station.
It's still now you're just making it double the amount of time. I'm still not seeing the benefit
Well, because
here.
I had to be there for attendance.
So listen, open your ear holes.
I was
and
too
listen.
tired from previous college activities.
Oh my gosh. Okay, don't take advice from my husband about college. Okay, don't do that. Just if you're going to go
College
to
is
class,
fun.
it is fun. No, I'm saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're going to go to class, just put your ears on and listen, so you don't have to relearn it later.
Yeah, but like, I would just be zoned out, and then I would record it, and then when I would go to work later that night, because I worked at
Because you just loved your professor so much.
yeah, I wanted to, yeah, that's exactly it. I love my professor so much that I would want to listen to them again
Nice
at
save.
2.5 times. speed.
Yes, nice save. Nice save. Thank you so much, Leslie, for submitting your story. If you have a story that you would like us to read on the podcast, you can submit it at hello@wearefinepod.com.
So we want to know what you thought of the show. We want to know what you think of us as guests. I know she's
We're
great.
guests?
We're guests.
I'm a guest in this home.
We're, you know what? We're a guest in their ears.
We're a guest
We are
in there.
guests in their ears. So tell us what you think of us as hosts. You could do that by reaching out to us on our social platforms. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Keep going.
Keep going.
We are guests in your ears.
So yeah, we're guests in your ears.
Thank you for opening your ear holes to us.
Yeah, you know what? It's the most important holes. So
Stop.
So come chat with us and have some fun with our Human Content Podcast family. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Human Content Pods, or contact us directly by email at hello@wearefinepod.com.
Also, you can watch the full episode in video form on my YouTube channel at Mrs. Woolley in 5th.
So we'd like to thank some people and thank you for listening. So we are...
Thank you to us.
Thank you to us.
No, thank
gonna
you.
say,
Thank you to you, Jordan.
You interrupted me. I was going to say we are your earhole guests.
Stop. Enough with the ear hole.
So we are your lovely earhole guests. This is Lauran Woolley. I'm Jordan Woolley.
Special thanks to our guest today, Devin Siebold. Make sure that you follow him at Devin Siebold or on TikTok at Devin Comedy.
The executive producers of We Are Fine podcast are Lauran Woolley, Jordan Woolley, Aaron Courtney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brooks.
Our editor is Andrew Sims.
Our engineer is Jason Portizo.
Our music is by Omer Benzvi.
To learn about our program disclaimer and ethics policy and submission verification and licensing terms, go to our website or reach us at hello@wearefinepod.com with any questions or concerns.
This podcast discusses sensitive and challenging topics, including mental health and personal struggles. If you're in crisis or need someone to talk to, please reach out to the suicide hotline at 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You are not alone.
We Are Fine is a human content production.
Hey, you.
Hey.
I love that shirt you're wearing.
And you know what would go great with that shirt?
What?
A nice big virtual hug. And you can get that by hitting some of these buttons down here. Subscribe, like, comment. We'll give you a big old virtual hug.
Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you guys next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.